One of the biggest problems that everyone has that gets into sales and tries to scale their business, they think it's mostly about the product and the service they're selling.
This thing is possibly costing them, a lot in lost revenue. It's making it more difficult to scale their business. Like, what is the logical side and the emotional side?
Okay, today I'm sitting here with Benjamin Strusnick, the founder and CEO of GoldenWeb, who managed to build a super profitable and successful business over the span of the last 2 years. We've started to work together in September last year. Ben, introduce yourself. I think you can do it much better than I can.
So I'm the founder, CEO of GoldenWeb. We specialize in scaling Shopify brands primarily through SEO, search engine optimization for anyone that doesn't know. And we've been doing that for about 7 years now. I'd say pretty successfully given the scale that we've reached. And yeah, excited to have a chat with you.
Nice, amazing. Before you started to work with Settix and with us and implementing our strategies and our approach, what was your initial approach getting into sales, building your business? So walk us through the whole sales approach and how it was structured prior to us working together.
Yeah, I would say I always had a lot of limiting beliefs in terms of sales. I never wanted to be the salesy guy. I never wanted to have a sales heavy business.
Yeah.
And for that reason, how I started everything was focused around producing content, a lot of organic content, because I always wanted leads and clients to come to me, to approach me, because I was kind of afraid to reach out because I didn't want to be the guy that's selling, that's trying to get leads through the door and trying to get business through the door. And I think if I could summarize, you've taught me a lot, but if I could summarize everything in a sentence or two, it would just be to not be afraid of reaching out, because at the end of the day, people do have problems. And if they make the first step, maybe by signing up for something that you offer, they essentially want to be sold. And that sounds bad, but in reality, how I reframe it in my mind and how you help me reframe it is that they want to have a problem solved. So essentially doing them the service of helping them solve that problem. So that I would summarize kind of the key lesson that I got out.
Yeah. Would you say before you've learned all the things that I told you, that you were kind of in a position where you said, okay, there's not much for me to optimize here anymore. I'm pretty dialed in, and to grow it further, I'm just going to do the thing that I'm doing right now and tweak here, tweak there? Or have you still seen a lot of potential in growth potential?
I would say a bit of both. I would say in terms of the content and all of that, I knew that it wasn't a sustainable way to build a business. Because, okay, I know there are a lot of people with personal brands and they do incredibly well with building a business, but ultimately it's not a business that's sellable, let's say. Yeah. Because it always depends on you. And also personally, I was doing content for more than 5 years and it's just a grind. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not a machine that runs on its own. You always need to plan content and record and publish. And it's something that you can't really automate. And obviously as the founder, you always want to be focused on tasks that, deliver the highest return on your time. So that's kind of when I started to look into paid advertising and all of that. And we're still not really profitable on the front end, but that doesn't matter. The core lesson that I kind of got from you was that there are a lot of room for additional optimization, which essentially helped us make the advertising profitable, which before I was struggling with quite badly.
Yeah. I think we've met each other at the exactly the right time. You already started doing it. You already had leads coming in. You already had some inflow. You've already managed to build the business in a way that so you tried the personal branding, and obviously personal branding works. Of course it does, but it's, as you said, it's not the most reliable source of customers. And then you got into inbound and online and everything. Had the first successes there, and then we met basically. What was your first reaction to all the things that I was telling you?
I literally just had that moment in my mind now because you were giving me an overview of your business, and I was just when you're trying to understand something, I was asking questions. I was like, I think this guy is going to be sick of me by some point because I'm asking so many questions. Yeah. But it was just so crazy to me because I never thought about just having someone pick up the phone and call the customer and have them schedule on an appointment in case they didn't show up, or just reach out to them and ask what exactly they're struggling with. That's kind of how the saying goes, you never notice the things that are the most obvious that are hiding in plain sight. Yeah. And that's exactly how I felt, like nonstop for months after we met, and for months after he introduced me to this whole concept. It's like I was just thinking, how have I never thought of this?
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, I mean, it has just learning all of that has completely transformed the entire business.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of interesting that a lot of people that work in e-commerce or with online advertisement, with Meta, with Facebook ads and Google ads and all the inbound and also personal branding, everyone has this side of the business or this side of the inbound so dialed in, and they're so focused on everything, trying to keep track of every KPI, have a lot of emails and reminders and follow-up and all this. But they don't do the obvious thing, make it more efficient by actually speaking to their customers, actually calling the customers. Most of them don't even nurture properly. So have a phone number that they can call, or have a better way of reaching out than email. If I open my email app right now, probably gonna have 80,000 spam mails in there. So I'm never gonna really read it. And that's the reason why most of the email campaigns have an open rate of like 1% or even less now. Yeah. So that's kind of I was starstruck when I first worked with businesses like yours, and now it's quite interesting because it's kind of similar. But on the other side, it's amazing because there's so much to impact. And if you have a business that's already extremely profitable and is successful in what it's doing, then it benefits the most from all these strategies and from everything that we can implement with kind of the traditional way of doing things and structuring it and making it more streamlined. What would you say is the thing that impacted the business the most? Say, like the one thing that you would say, it increased revenue and you saw an immediate effect?
Wow, you're putting me on the spot here because there were so many different things. But ultimately, what I would say is just to learn to pick up the phone and to give the person a call, because that's, I mean, you just said it now. We were sending out emails and we were, having conversations on Messenger, on Instagram, like wherever the leads reached out. Yeah. But, texting versus having a phone call, you just cannot build the same level of trust and the relationship to the same extent. And I don't know exactly how much of like communication is with words. I think like only 10% of our communication is with like actual words. 90% is in tonality and everything like that. And that all of that gets lost when you're just texting, right? When if you're sending an email and doing that kind of marketing. That would be kind of the biggest lesson that I got out of it is people really just crave this connection, to build a relationship, to build trust, through actually talking to someone. It doesn't even have to be like a video call. Just picking up the phone and talking to someone makes such a massive difference. To just have, I mean, at the end of the day, you're just serving someone. You have basic customer service. Everyone's trying to be online and everyone's trying to automate that. Everyone kind of forgets that. And not that it is extremely difficult to do. Just for some reason, if it's online, you suddenly don't need that anymore. But that's the exact opposite.
It is definitely, and that's where most businesses fail. And there's a reason. I mean, every business serves a purpose. Everyone solves a problem, and there is someone that seeks help and wants his problem solved. And this person is not only seeks a solution for their problems, but also seeks someone, like you said, that is talking to them, actually trying to understand what they're looking for, trying to understand the problem, and also be there to care for them. Because in most cases, they're overwhelmed with or stuck in their business processes with what they're actually doing right now. But what I think impacted your business the most was, and is also the most simplest thing. First of all, like collecting phone numbers, the most obvious thing to actually have an inbound flow where you do have a way of calling them, and then not wait for them to book an appointment and then not show up to call them, but actually when the lead comes in, immediately call him and have someone scheduling appointment with that prospect and trying to figure out what that person actually wants, so you are better prepared in your sales presentation, in the sales call that you're actually going to have with that person. And on the other hand, better understanding why this person actually inquired, which makes your flow of leads coming in much more efficient, because you actually know how to set up the ads and who to target, because maybe they're the wrong audience, the wrong people, whatever. And also it's much more likely that this person is going to show up when someone has talked to them, because it's a person. They have some feelings wasting someone's time. And if it's just digital and they click through a funnel, maybe they're, I don't know, sitting in their underwear and on their bed and just seeing Benjamin is talking here. It's like, oh, that's interesting, typing in their name, booking a call, and then they forget about it. And then life goes on. And life is quite messy and loud, and people struggle with a lot of things, not only the problems that made them inquire in the first place. So it's so much more efficient to just give him a call, even if it's sitting at home in his underwear. If you have the phone number, call him right away. And there are actually statistics to it. It's like if you don't call within the 5 to 10 minutes, you have an immense drop-off rate of people not booking a call or forgetting what this whole thing was about, because I mean, it's more likely for them to inquire if they're in the mood to inquire for a lot of things. They're not only going to send you something, they're going to send their contact details to many different things because they're in the mood for it right now. So to remember what this one thing was about is super hard. I mean, even for me, for you as well.
Yeah.
So
one thing that I would also add, like, I'm just kind of going through like everything that we've done. I remember at the start, what we did that I really think revolutionized a lot was, of course, adding in phone numbers. That was the obvious one, but more so outlining the customer journey. Like, okay, they opt in, they buy the lead magnet, they book a call, they don't show up, or they show up. Like all these things of their journey in the funnel, we essentially map them to different parts of the journey. And based on where in the journey they're at, we have scripts, right? We put the scripts together. So when we're calling them, we know exactly what to say. So, okay, you checked out the lead magnet. Thank you for the interest. How did you like it? You know, it opens up the conversation. And from there, obviously, the next step is to get them on the call. So that, in my opinion, was like one of the crucial things that really had a very big effect.
Yeah, I think calling them in the first place was just a quick win. So for you also to see it has an impact and it drives revenue and you see something out of it. But that alone won't give you a structured sales process that is forecastable, where you can actually sit down, you have KPIs, and you know exactly, okay, if I put X in, Y comes out. And it's forecastable for you to grow a business, and that's what you need for a sustainable business. And that's why personal branding and all the other ways can't live without an approach like this. And I think having the quick wins in the beginning, that's what most agencies do. They just give you the quick wins, but actually diving deep into the processes, understanding from A to Z what your business consists of, what flows you already have, what is the customer journey, what steps he must go through, and what comes within this step. So it's like there are different outcomes for every step, and you must understand them and have them dialed in. And what we did with you as well, and I think it was the most amount of work, getting everything dialed, having all the scripts for every part of it. So it's not you actually having the conversations. I remember in the beginning you were still doing the sales calls yourself, partially, and sales manager, I think.
Yes,
correct. Yeah, and now you're not in the process anymore. But we've automated most of it, having all the scripts, so it's actually easier to give it to someone because he can just read through it and understand every step of the flow, and it's much more reliable. And you have a reliable process now, you can say, something that's scalable.
Especially one that I'm not directly involved in.
Yeah,
right? One that I don't necessarily have to worry about every lead being called or not called, or you know, like it's just a lot more predictable and takes the effort or the time off my plate. I can invest the time in other things. Yeah,
I mean, your goal as a CEO and as a business owner, and you've been doing it for a very long time, and you've grown to immense revenues. I mean, you've been successful before we worked together. But what's important for a business owner in general is you must be able to work on the business, not in the business. So actually selling to customers at some point is not your job anymore. You must have a dialed process. You must understand everything. You must know what's important for everything, but you're not the one actually doing it. So you can, as you said, focus on the things and the problems that you then see because you have much more time and you can pay attention now. You're not like this deep down in the processes and selling to customers, all thinking about how can I close more customers in the presentations and the conversations I have. You actually think about, okay, how can I make this whole thing much more efficient, or what I need to add to it, remove in order to 10x or 5x my business. That's the job you should have as a business owner.
Yeah,
not actually.
100%. And it also reminds me, like, okay, so we got a lot more leads coming in, a lot more appointments booked. Yeah. And kind of the next thing after that was, I mean, I think you asked me, I was like, okay, so you have a sales call, so how do you actually approach it, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't really answer that well. Like, I was like, yeah, we do this review and we kind of present it and we do this and that. And I was jumping around trying to explain.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when we started working also on the entire, let's say, not script, but like the journey of the sales call, right? So what happens, how you build the connection at the start, what you guide them through, what you show and what you say on that call. So that was kind of the next thing that I think really had a massive impact. Just having some sort of a map for that call, organizing it, and that alone, and then turning that into an actual presentation, where you described it super well. You describe it in like, you almost need to check the previous box before you can proceed to the next one. So instead of, just me going randomly without a script on a sales call, just kind of trying to show my expertise.
Going from A to Z and jumping around.
Exactly. Just following like a checklist that's unique to every single business, but ultimately should be a checklist, making sure that all the boxes are ticked, and then ultimately asking the closing question and getting them to the end of the sales call so that they make the decision. Obviously also have the entire objection handling at the end, which also we didn't have a clue about. So that was another thing, but just structuring the sales call like a presentation, like a map that's like a story that you're taking them through, and then handling the objections, and most importantly also the way that they get the perceived ROI out of it. Because, for example, for us, we don't really sell with emotions. We sell, to some degree we do sell with emotions, but we also need to explain logically, right? Okay, you invest this much, how much you receive out of it, out of doing out of investing into this marketing service. Putting that all together and just seeing that all of these different areas can be optimized, instead of just looking at the ads optimization, how much you optimize for the cost per call. You see that there's a lot more to this game.
Yeah. I mean, in your case, the most important for us in the beginning was just dialing in your lead gen strategy and to make it reliable, because it doesn't make sense for a sales process or like your presentations that already had some tractions, already were working to a certain extent. It was first about increasing volume, and then when we increased volume, we identified all the issues that you have in your sales approach and everything. So first, make sure they actually show up, they actually are qualified. You make much more out of the leads that are coming in before we then after we have the whole sales flow dialed in, increase the whole thing. So it's kind of like
it's like a funnel. You just see where the biggest drop-offs are, and then you fix them, right? Just for us, there were leaks everywhere. So we just focused first on getting more people in. And I just had this flashback right now. I remember like we implemented the setters, people just calling the leads, and it was the first day that it had gone live, and I was, because we mainly served the US, it was like 7 p.m. here. I was at the gym, and I had my notifications on my phone for every time someone booked an appointment. So the setters were calling them, and it was like new appointment. I think we booked like 12 appointments in the first 2 hours. I was just texting you like, man, what the hell is going on? Like, this is insane. Like,
have you ever had so many appointments in one day?
No, by that time, no, we were doing like 3, maximum 4 on a very good day. And then that day we did like 12, 13. I think at some point we reached even like 17 appointments in one day. Just from setters.
Which is in your line of business, which is ridiculous.
Yes.
And it also showcased or showed us all the other leaks that we need to pay attention to, because many processes in your business weren't ready for that and were cracking, which was also interesting to see. But coming back to the sales presentation and how to structure sales in general, what you said, I mean, many businesses struggle with what you were struggling with as well. I mean, they know their service, so therefore they're able to tell someone how it works and what benefits it has. But it's super hard for them to really understand what customers are buying or aren't buying, and also to hand over this process to someone else. It's like suicide. And that's what I see many businesses do. They hire 5, 6, 7 salespeople and hope that they're going to fix it and someone will crack the code and find how to sell this product, because they don't really know. They're just able to do it themselves. So as many businesses, it's like, yeah, I made the most sales in this business. I brought in the contacts. I was the one closing. I know how to do it. So it's like, okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean that someone else knows how to do
100%,
it.
100%. And that kind of brings me back to what I said at the start. Like, when you just rely on a personal brand and you're the one selling and you're the one closing, like, most people will buy just because it's you on the call, because they've seen you, because you have the trust, and sure, you'll have very high close rates. But is that really what you want? Like, do you want to have a business where you need to be the only one doing the content, be the only one selling, be the only one closing, and possibly even be the only one delivering? Like, no, not really, because that business, okay, it's going to make you cash flow, but ultimately it's not sellable, so therefore it's not worth much. I knew that that was not what I wanted, and therefore like going through this entire process where we turned it into a system, kind of put together like some sort of a machine where it can just go through it, like people can go through it, get results, and essentially everything to be managed not by me but by my team.
Yeah. It always is a problem when you're the bottleneck in your business. Like that's what we needed to remove, and every business owner needs to remove as soon as possible, not being the bottleneck. And that's, I think we've been quite successful in with you and with
100%.
many of our clients as well. And everyone is always super surprised what you can do. But let's dive into the sales presentation and what we actually did there. And you explained it as jumping around, going from places, and having success, having closing deals and winning customers. Obviously, I mean, you did a lot of revenue, but what from my point of view was the biggest problem, and is also is one of the biggest problems that everyone has that gets into sales and tries to scale their business, is they think it's mostly about the product and the service they're selling. So you must speak a lot about the product and the service that you're selling, and you're not really communicating with your customer. But sales is more a conversation. Of course, there's a lot of analytics to it, and there's a lot of structure to it that you need to implement. But I mean, it is a conversation in the end. And it's very important for this conversation to have a structured flow. So you're leading with questions and having a conversation with your customer about his problems that you are able to solve, essentially. And putting in place the needs analysis. Of course, he needs to like you. You need to build rapport. He needs to trust you. All of those things that are very important that we also implemented for you to build all this. But all that doesn't matter if you're not able to find the needs of that person, of that business, and that you are actually able to present it in a way that you're able to solve it. You also need to speak with the right person. So I mean, if you have an e-commerce business, but I don't know, you're speaking with someone who doesn't do e-commerce at all, you can't close him. But if you have the right person in front of you, the only thing that separates you from a successful deal or not is identifying what this person actually needs. And for that, there's a limited amount of questions that you can ask that person, every business, and that's the part that you can structure and gives to someone. It's like, okay, those questions you need to ask. And they also need to be able, and that's where it gets a little bit tricky, teaching them how to actually talk and care about people, because that's important. So if you just have this list, initial questions, and you go very broad with the customers or potential customers, trying to figure out what they need, but you're unable to do the next steps because you get an answer.
Yeah,
he's talking to you.
I think the key thing that you also talked a lot about was not just to ask the question, but to first off understand how the person feels, like how they feel dealing with this issue, this challenge. But more importantly, also how that's currently impacting their business, right? So you have kind of the emotional side. Okay, this challenge is creating them stress, worry, and all of that. But on the logical side, this thing is possibly costing them, a lot in lost revenue. It's making it more difficult to scale their business. Like, what is the logical side and the emotional side? And you need to really take the answer and kind of dig deep, as you always say. Yeah.
You need to dig deep in order to understand and in order to be able to help. And that's what we do in sales. And that's I really don't like the approach of many people saying, it's all about objection handling and you can close everyone and whatever they say you can. Of course, you can handle every objection, yes, but it's better to prevent that objection in the first place because you actually understand what the customer wants. And that's what we did in your case, and that's what everyone needs to implement, because you need to understand, is this person going to buy before you actually showed your service and your product? That's what you need to do. And that only works if you have a proper needs analysis, and you can, at the end, have a list of all the problems that this person is facing that you can solve, so you can pinpoint and say, okay, at the end of this conversation, after I've showed you everything, and we can solve problem 1, problem 2, problem 3, problem 4, 100%. And you're satisfied. You don't have any questions, no doubts. You're 100% satisfied. Are you going to move forward with me today, or is there anything going to hold you back? You need to be able to ask that question. And then many get uncomfortable. It's like, oh, wow, that's a hard question to ask. But honestly, both of you are here to have a conversation. You are here to win him as a customer, and he is here for a reason to have a problem solved. So if you solve the problem, why is he not buying? And for you to understand that in early stages in this conversation is not only important for you to understand, are you actually speaking with someone who's buying, but also important to identify all the other problems that might occur. Maybe he's not a decision maker. Maybe he needs to talk with his wife. He needs to have someone else on board to make this decision. All those things you find out in the beginning of the conversation. And it's not going to be awkward. It's like, are you the one making decisions in your business? Like, no, we ask it like this. And it's like, yeah, okay, if I'm satisfied, I would be happy too, but my CFO, my CMO, my whatever needs to be on board in this decision as well. It's like, okay, then let's make it like this. Let's approach it like this. Let's not waste your time and my time. We're both extremely busy, and it's gonna be like you have a very successful business and you're an expert in your fields. For me to explain your service is going to be extremely hard. 50% I will have forgotten after the conversation, and the same goes the other way around. So why not schedule a call together with your partner, where I show you both how it works, and then you can make collectively a decision if you want to move forward with us or not. And then you have both decision makers in there, and you don't have this awkward calling them afterwards. Hey, how's it going? Did you manage to speak with him now? Mm-hmm. So all of those problems you don't have anymore when you ask those questions and you actually identify the needs of a person. And it also eliminates 90% of the objections because you already spoke about most. And then your job as a salesperson is to solve the problem. You don't talk about if he is not interested in all the business sides and all the agents you have across the globe and this many and that, and you're expert in blah, 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 all those various fields. He's not interested in that because he told you he has this problem and this problem needs to be solved. So what you need to do now is solve the problem. Yeah. And then you have a deal.
And also something that I want to add for us, like when I was still closing, it was a lot of, let's say 50% closed on the call, the other 50% didn't close on a call, and then maybe 20% of that we closed on over email. Mm-hmm. The other 50% that didn't close on the call, they always something always bothered me. I just didn't know why. What I'm trying to say is that you shouldn't have, if you do a good job on the sales call, you shouldn't have the other 50% that you're waiting on, that maybe they'll close, maybe they won't close, because it just means that you haven't done a good enough job on the sales call. So that's kind of like what we really resolved, because now it's like they either buy on the sales call or they don't. But if they don't buy, probably we didn't offer them the thing anyway because they weren't the right fit, right? Everything else, if it doesn't go that way, probably just haven't done the objection handling that well.
Yeah, and that's the next part. When you have all these things dialed, you build rapport. Obviously, he needs to like you. So if he thinks he doesn't like your voice or your nose or whatever, and you can't connect with this person, people buy from people, and they all want services, but in order to buy, you must have some sympathy, and it's much easier. Therefore, you must care about the person, build rapport, and then get into needs analysis and make them trust you and actually identify the need. But when you have all this, your closing rate is going to be so much higher already. And that's the most simple thing you can do. Just sit down and think about, okay, what target audience I have, what questions I can ask them in order to identify what problems they have to lead them towards the things that we're actually solving. Because if you just have a broad question of what problems you have in life, then they're probably going to tell you all the things that you can't solve. Say, okay, I'm always fighting with my wife, and they're my kids, and the teacher are bad, and blah, 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 blah. And all this is like, okay, but
why are you here?
Why are you here? So those questions need to be in a way that you can lead him in a direction where you then have problems that you can actually solve. Then you just present a solution, whatever that might be. In your case, it was your offer and helping them with their Shopify brands and SEO and all these things. And then obviously to even push it further, like you already said, make sure they really understand and get their return on investment. Very important for them because it's not only an emotional decision to be made, it's also like the stats must work.
It's a logical one.
Yeah, it's a logical one. It's a logical one. It's based on facts. Also, I would say the facts aren't as important in a sales call as the emotional part is. So when they have the feeling that you can solve it and they feel that you care and you feel they have an expert with whom they're speaking to right now. But it's also important to kick the last 20% and have the stats and everything dialed in. Yeah. And then the last part, is what many, when you type in how to get more deals, how to sell more on YouTube, is like, you need to no objection handling. No one is gonna say no to me. No one is gonna all these things. They do work as well, but it should come in the end, because you have much less objections now, I suppose.
I mean, another thing that you taught me is that the whole point of the sales call, like the way you're asking them questions, the way you do the presentation, the way you cover everything, the whole point of it is to eliminate objections for them without them needing to ask.
Yeah.
Because if they need to ask, and they're essentially giving you the objection to solve, that's a big ask from them. Not many are gonna give you, look, this is the objection, can you solve it for me so I can finally buy?
Yeah.
Most people won't do that.
Yeah.
So this whole point of the sales call is to essentially just remove the objections for them. And that's kind of also, I think, where the volume comes in.
Yeah.
Like when you know volume and knowing your customer, like what their worries are and so on, so that you can structure the presentation in a way where it removes a lot of these worries and concerns and objections. And this is also kind of we just launched another offer. We're expanding a lot in the conversion rate optimization, and I was working with my partner on this, Jasper, and he hasn't gone through a lot of this sales stuff himself just yet, but when we were doing the presentation together, this is what I kind of kept telling him all the way through, is like, everything that you say on the call must have purpose, right?
Yeah.
If it's not demonstrating your expertise or showing the results and kind of pre-selling in that way, it must be solving their objections. If it doesn't do any of those things, then might as well just take it out, because you're wasting the time.
Yeah, 100%. You're here to close.
Yeah.
And to win a customer and to solve a problem. And it's not, and it shouldn't be in a way that the customer leaves completely overwhelmed. It's like, oh my God, what did I do here? What decision I made? Because there's many companies acting like this. But it needs to be in a way that you successfully close the customer by helping him solve his problem. And both of you win after that conversation. It's a win-win. Selling essentially is a win-win, creating as many win-win situations as possible. That's what a sales call should be, and that's what sales is about. Because every business sells, every business has a service, and is essentially solving problems.
Exactly, and I think one of the most powerful belief shifts that people should make, if they have the belief that I had, sales is bad and blah blah. Because we all got calls from scammy sales from companies trying to sell you something that you don't need, most likely, and that can put negative stigma around wholesales. But it's not true. The negative part around sales only comes if you don't have a good product. Yeah. Which hopefully anyone listening out there, you're not selling a bad product.
It should be, but 90% are like this. It's true.
Unfortunately. But you shouldn't be thinking about sales as trying to convince or persuade someone into doing something bad, but rather trying to make their life better by solving a problem that keeps them up at night.
And it's also something, you say a very important thing there. It's not only important to have a good product for the customer side, it's also important for your sales to actually forecastably work. Because sooner or later your sales agent will find out that your customers don't have results with the things that you're selling. Then identified sales agent, identified salesperson and closer is going to be so much more efficient and so much better in closing customers, because he can sleep at night. And that's also super important to have this in your business and to make sure your product actually has purpose.
Exactly. I literally just had the same thing happen yesterday. So our head of strategy, who's also working mainly with the new leads that come in, he was like, yeah, I know what we can do, but I don't really have an overview of the results that we generate for every single client. So he was asking me, he was like, can I please get copied into every single email that you deliver with the results? I'm like, bro, you're gonna have a lot of emails. And he's like, yeah, I don't care, just send it over. And he's now CC'd in every single email that we send over. And yesterday we just sent out reports for the 15th of the month. And he's like, he just sent me the screenshot of the email where we ranked for odor eliminator in the US from position 51 to position 7 in 1 month. And he's like, God damn, I knew that this was going to be a good move, because he's just so pumped about the results that we're actually generating.
Imagine the impact that had, and that you were able to actually show him results and positive feedback from your customers. We've worked with, in the beginning, we've worked with many companies that didn't have this. And then we needed to think about what to tell the salespeople when they ask for basic things. Can I see the product? Can I actually log into it? But the customer is saying X, Y, Z. Well, how should I respond? And then we were writing scripts for all this trying to figure out what to say to still comfort them, which is the worst way of approaching it. So we've also changed a lot in who we're working with, and that's very important to be able to do that, because this alone can 10x your business. Having someone who's actually satisfied and completely identified with what you're doing and is happy, and the customers are not calling him to complain, but they're calling him for positive feedback. And also, which leads to the next thing, which is very important in a business once everything is dialed, is actually getting recommended by your customers and getting more out of the relationships that you're building with your customers. Because if you close a deal, for most or many, it's just about, next check, next customer, there's this much more revenue. But actually you have a person. This person cares about things. If he's happy with your service, most likely he has many others that would like your service as well, have similar problems and all this. So that's another big factor, and actually one of the biggest things, and I'm really looking forward for you to implement that, because that's what we're doing right now, to see the impact of recommendations in your business. And not only waiting for recommendations, because I think in the past you've been recommended quite a lot.
Yes. One of these clients that came in, like we gave them a call, and like we've been giving them a lot of calls, just guiding them through every part of the journey. She's been amazing to work with. Her and her husband, they run a barbecue store on Shopify, and we've done really good work together. I think she sent us probably between 15 to 20 clients in the last month, and we didn't even ask. So I'm super excited to now be implementing the referral process. I'll let you explain it because you'll do a much better job. But that was like another thing where I was just like, wow, like I never thought of this. Not my closer never thought of this. No one, and it's once again something that's gonna really revolutionize things a lot. The only challenge that we have right now is we have too many sales calls booked where we don't have time between the calls to actually add this on at the end. But we're gonna find a solution to that.
Yeah. Which is a nice problem to have. It's a nice bottleneck to have.
Exactly.
And I think you'll be able to manage to deal with that as well. So that's an amazing problem to have. Before we get into this, if you would summarize us working together, what, like in revenue, or you don't need to speak about numbers, but percentage wise, what would you say? How much of an impact all this had on your business?
I think it's still impacting it a lot, so I wouldn't call it as a final result, but overall about a 35% increase that I can attribute only to the things that you've added in terms of value. In terms of revenue increase, I mean, it's a huge difference, man. Like, this is just revenue measurement. I cannot even explain to you the customer satisfaction, the attention to detail to every customer, the close rates. Like, you know, it's such a massive improvement across the board in terms of like how we serve the customer, how they perceive us, how much business we're able to generate. So, you know, a massive improvement across the board.
Nice. Happy to hear that. Nice. It's also good for me to have this positive reinforcement for me to know what I'm saying actually makes sense. Nice.
You know, I think this is the funny thing, because like when we met, a few times you gave me this look, you're like, you didn't know about this, like, and this is so funny, because like when you get super good at one thing, and for you it's without a doubt sales. I've never met anyone in my life that's as good with sales as you are. Not just with sales, but generation of business in general. To you, these things are so crazy obvious. And then when you saw like how much of these things I have no idea about, like it kind of sparked this whole idea of like, okay, I think I should pay attention to this a bit more, because people aren't up at this level.
Yeah, it's surprising that many aren't. You can't really expect it from anyone, because you're so deep down in your processes, and you really must understand your business deeply in order to have a satisfying product and service. You can't really pay attention too much to this, so it also helps to have someone who actually is like here, and helps you implement it.
And I think something that we should add to this conversation, like, I haven't paid you anything for this. Like this whole thing, and I think this is why the conversation is going.
That's not the offer we have.
What I'm trying to say is, I have literally just implemented everything that this guy here told me without. I'm trying to say just that there was a lot of goodwill from you because we just met, and as soon as we met, you started sharing all this value with me, expecting zero in return. And I've implemented all of it. I've implemented everything you told me. And knowing what I know now and how much it has impacted my business, I would gladly pay a lot of money for what you're offering, for what you're willing to offer, and what you did to the business.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just want to say really thank you, man, for being such a giving and caring person, and just sharing all the value without expecting anything in return. And I think whoever gets to work with you on the wholesale side, or anything in particular that you can assist with, I think they're going to be in for a surprise, because you will over-deliver in such a massive way that they have no idea what they can expect.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Making me a lot lose words now. But it is kind of my how I approach life in general. If we go away from the whole sales and everything, I think it's really important in life to give a lot, not expect much in return, but it's important to give value, because you can't even comprehend how much comes back. I mean, it's not like I gave you all this and that's it, and now I gave you all the knowledge I had, and you make a lot of money and I have nothing out of it in return. I mean, it's mutual, so you get a lot back. You were throwing clients at me like I was overwhelmed. So many new contacts, so many new people, so many new customers, so many new amazing businessmen and entrepreneurs that I've met through you, because I was able to give you the value upfront, and you had a lot of benefit out of it, and I can't even put it in numbers, but it's going to be a lot of revenue now that came from you as well. So, but it's nice, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think this is just something that that we share, and I think this is also why a lot of friends that we have in common, and people that we click with, I guess you could call it, they all share the same belief.
Yeah.
We're working together, we're all trying to be the best we can, not just in business, in every area of our lives. And yeah, just operating out of this, it's what brought us together in the first place. It's why we're such great friends now. And I think this is also something that will resonate with the clients that end up working with you.
Yeah.
They will have the same beliefs, so they'll also send everyone over that, especially after they see the results.
It's really important, not only for clients and making more sales. I think for you to become successful as a person, as an entrepreneur, you need to have this mindset. You need to be willing to give for free, or to give like, that's very bad. Maybe very careful here, but to give value, to share also on a friendship level. I mean, we've out of all this, we've developed such an amazing friendship, and it's much deeper than I ever expected a friendship to be. I think because we share the same mindset, and that also enables us to meet people with the same mindset, the same beliefs, and it's crazy what impact that has when you have so many people that want you to succeed. It's not like I can't think of even one person in my network or your network that's like, if this guy succeeds, I feel bad. And that's what I've had many times in the past, and that's why many things in the past failed, because you have the wrong people surrounding you. Now it's completely different. Everyone wants you to succeed, and you always have someone to call when you have a problem. And that's I think what had the most impact on both of our business, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Coming back to recommendations, we don't really know the impact yet it's going to have on your business, but you've seen the impact from the example that you made with 17 in 1 month or something like that. People that were recommended, and it might sound to people listening to this that never had people recommending. It might sound impossible and crazy, and this guy is a liar. one person recommending 17 people, impossible. But that's how recommendations work. If someone is really satisfied with your service and you put in your best effort, he's going to bring a lot of new business to you.
I mean, you don't even just think of yourself like in a situation where you find a great product, a great service, a great restaurant, a great bar, whatever it is. If you have an amazing time there, you don't need any incentive to recommend it.
Yeah.
And the same goes for, whenever you have a problem and someone finally solves that problem that you've had for years and years, let's say, you'll be happy to tell others about it. I mean, that's also the reason, okay, sure, you're my friend and I'm happy to spread the word, but you've done such an amazing job with, with helping me out. It wasn't even, me trying to do you a favor. It was just like, okay, you have this problem. Okay, don't worry about it. Just speak to him.
Yeah.
Because if anyone can help you, like, you need him, like, you need this guy.
Yeah.
So, it just comes naturally. Obviously, you need to have a great service under it. But ultimately, with this whole referral process, it's also, like, you shouldn't always just be hoping that maybe you get referrals out of it.
Yeah.
There are ways to kind of, how can I say, boost it up and to start this whole referral process. And that's kind of the process that we're implementing now.
First of all, what we talked about, it's important to have the service that works, and not only the service that works, but also give the customer the confidence, because he's dealing with his reputation here.
Mm-hmm.
Recommendations is if you mess up with a person that was recommended to you, you also have an impact on the reputation of that person that is recommending to you. So that's very important to have that dialed. But most people rely on, when they know how recommendations work, it's like, oh, okay, it would be amazing for you to recommend me. And then they wait. But life is busy. They have different things to think about. Even if they're extremely grateful and you've had a huge impact on their business, it does not automatically mean that they're going to recommend you. But it also does not mean that they're not willing to recommend you. It's in most cases it's the opposite, and that's why you need in your business a recommendation flow if your business is ready for it, because that's where the most of the juice is. And with some of our clients, what we do, instead of figuring out all the other parts that we did with you, it's like the lead gen part, because you already had something working there that was easy for us to increase and optimize and make it better. Most businesses don't even have that. And for them, what's much more powerful is go to their client base that they already built and approach them as a quick win. Of course, there needs to be a process afterwards as well, but as a quick win to get into the customers they already have, sit down with them and ask them to get recommendations, and have this process dialed in as well, but have it systemized in the long run, and to make sure that every prospect gets the same set of questions and the same framework in order to get recommendations. Especially, and that's where many will now disagree with me, but especially the ones that did not buy. That's very important. Because you have customers, you've put in effort with someone, you've sat there 1.5 hours telling him something, and for whatever reason he's not willing to buy. But it doesn't mean that he's not satisfied with what you're offering. It doesn't mean that he doesn't know someone this service would be good for as well. And if you don't ask him any questions afterwards, it was just a waste of time with him. But when you ask this person for recommendations, okay, remove all the stress, all the stressors, the sales presentation, put everything away, so both calm down. It's like, okay, I appreciate your honesty. In your situation, I would have decided exactly the same. You defended me. I have nothing more to say. But let's say your situation, the problem that we identified, which led to you not buying today, wouldn't be the problem. So you wouldn't have that situation that is holding you back. Would you have become a customer today? Yes. Okay. And then you can open up the recommendation flow, and then you can get into, okay, he would have bought if he didn't have the problem X, Y, Z, and usually it's like money-related issues, or his processes are not there yet, or something like that is holding him back from becoming a customer and using your service. Because you must also be aware of that your customer needs to put some time or attention to the service that you have. So some aren't just ready yet, which is normal. But if you have the yes here, you can go further. It's like, okay, amazing, great to hear that. So for me now, it's impossible to speak with everyone in your that you know and for whom this service might be interesting. When you think of the service that we offer, do you think anyone working in your field, there's someone in your field for whom this service wouldn't be interesting? And then you get a no. It's like, no, I don't know anyone. It's super interesting for most of the people. It's like, okay, obviously I can't speak with everyone, but who comes to mind when you think of our service? Who would benefit the most, you think? And if some people need some time to get into it, because also then they're thinking and they have a block in their head, like they don't come up with any names, then you can have a list of all the things for your industry, where they potentially meet people or how they work together or what meetups they have and whatever, and you help them a little bit. And then what you do is you just write down names. It's like, okay, Sabrina, very interesting. And then Thomas, okay, yeah, very interesting, nice. Next one. And sometimes it happens that they get into some state of flow and they're like, but it's very important to not have a pushy conversation here, and them actually wanting to give you recommendations and be satisfied. The whole flow, it must be flawless. That's very important. Put in the work first, and then you have all the names. And what you do now is you fill in the blanks, because you need some information about the people. Okay, what is it about Sabrina? What is she doing? What business she has? What is she interested in? Blah, blah, blah. You gather information. You do it for the next one, for the next one, for the next one, for the next one, for the next one. How can I reach Sabrina? Mobile, telephone, what's best? Can I call her on a 01? And then they hesitate a little bit, but then they give you the number. And then you do it until it gets uncomfortable. So trying to get as much information as possible. And then you have a lot of people on your list, and you do this with every customer that didn't buy, with every customer that you already have, with every customer that you're closing in the second call, blah, 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 blah. And you do it regularly, because you meet new people, I meet new people, they meet new people. And you do it regularly. And then if you do this and you have a satisfied customer base, you never need to do any of the outbound efforts, inbound efforts, personal branding, nothing. You don't need it anymore. Because you have, how I call it, a recommendation perpetuum mobile. People coming, ongoing. Because one person...
I will.
Yeah. No. And that's going to happen for your business as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, nothing to add. Covered everything.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening. It was an amazing conversation. If you want to check out Ben and whatever he's doing, he's going to start to share wisdom and everything that he knows. And he knows much more than sales now. He's a sales expert now, but knows many, many, many more things. And he's going to share that in the next couple of months as well. So check his socials. And if you want to get in touch with us, how we can help you increase sales, dial lead gen, and you have some sort of discovery call, you can check that out below as well, or just hit me up on Instagram or any other socials, and then we can schedule a call. Thank you very much, and see you in the next one.